we showed up about 200,000 years ago. And now there's a little evidence that may have been back as far as 300,000. But the kicker is that we can now look at the DNA and reverse engineer it and say, what did it take to get where we are? And what scientists are now calling the smoking gun, and there's still a lot of controversy around this, is human chromosome number 2. Human chromosome number 2 is the second largest chromosome in every cell of the body. It's got about 1,200 or so genes in that chromosome. And just one of them, gene TBR number 1, is responsible for most of the brain that we have for our neocortex. So our humanness, our empathy, sympathy, compassion, love, our cognitive abilities, the mirror neurons, all these kinds of things are because of that one gene. Well, where this gets really interesting is, where did chromosome 2 come from? And scientists have the answer, but they don't like the answer, because chromosome 2 is the product of a fusion. Proceedings from National Academy of Sciences, the volume Genetics, says this very clearly. We conclude that the origin of human chromosome 2 is the product of an ancestral fusion, of telomere to telomere fusion of 2 pre-existing chromosomes. That does not happen in nature. It can't happen in nature. So here's what they're saying. You got two fully formed, fully functional chromosomes, and on the end are the telomeres that protect those chromosomes when the cells divide. And that's why they're on the end. They take the hit. It's a trauma in a cell when those chromosomes are pulled apart and some of the DNA doesn't make it. So nature puts telomeres on the end to take the hit, so the good DNA remains intact. And that's why it's on the ends. Human chromosome 2, those telomeres are right in the middle of the chromosome, where they shouldn't be, because those chromosomes were fused together about 200,000 years ago when we appeared. And if that was the only one, you could say, well, maybe it's a fluke. Chromosome number 7. I'm a musician when I'm not doing what I'm doing now, long before I was a researcher. And one of the things I always used to wonder about, we share 98% of our DNA with chimpanzees, but you don't hear chimpanzees sing. You're never going to hear a chimpanzee sing Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. And you ask, well, why not? I mean, 98% of the DNA is we share with them, but it's because of chromosome 7. And for about 175 million years, this chromosome was stable in all primates, all of them, orangutan, gorilla, chimps, all the primates. All of a sudden, there was this little switch of a couple of genes that connected our tongue and our brain and our jaw, and we can sing and we can have complex speech like no other form of life. It happened 200,000 years ago. Now, what are the odds of that happening when chromosome 2 is fusing? So I've worked with scientists my whole life, both in academia and in the corporations. I was a problem solver for Fortune 500 companies through the late 70s, 80s, and 90s. And one of the things I've seen about scientists is fascinating, is that there is one way of thinking that says we take all the evidence and we force it into a pre-existing model, like all the new discoveries, trying to force that into Darwin's theory of evolution, or we allow the new evidence to lead to the story that it tells. And this is where science is stuck right now, because the old theory, Darwin's theory of evolution, is in trouble. And it's the DNA is the reason it's in trouble. It's no longer superficial or fossil evidence. I mean, the DNA is telling the story. And the new story suggests, at the very least, a scientist has to say there's been some kind of intelligent intervention. And this is where science gets stuck, because science says it's not equipped to talk about any kind of an intelligent intervention.